And here's a story we think is worth your time. The Oregonian newspaper in December ran a blockbuster report about an $11.5 million contract that the city of Portland gave to a nonprofit whose leader spent years in prison for defrauding energy companies and had a long history of financial misdeeds and unpaid fines. The Clean Energy Initiative was sold to voters as a 1% tax on big retailers that would create green energy jobs and cut carbon emissions. The program is intended to help Portland residents with a focus on people of color who are facing the most severe impacts of climate change. It also gave priority when awarding contracts to nonprofits created by members of historically marginalized communities. After the paper's revelations, the contract was taken back and given to a different company. Later, the nonprofit leader sued the city. Today, I got a chance to talk with the reporter, Shane Dixon Kavanaugh, and he pulled back the curtain a little bit on his process of digging into the Clean Energy Fund and finding those big problems.
It is a program that's trying to do very big, ambitious things: tackle climate change, address historic inequities in the city, and they have a lot of money to do those things. So it's a big program, a new program. It's got a lot of money. So just naturally, as a reporter and journalist, this is something that you want to sort of follow and see how it's going to sort of shake out and play out. The city decided to select Diversifying Energy to sort of be the program or the project manager for this heat pump program. So what they were going to be tasked with doing is you have to acquire 15,000 heat pumps. You have to figure out how you're going to store those and manage them. And then ultimately the project is designed that you would give these heat pumps to community-based organizations that could identify people who most needed them, and those community-based organizations would install those into homes. For the projects and programs that they fund, they want to prioritize Portlanders of color, and they also prioritize nonprofits that are, run or managed by individuals of color. And Linda Woodley is a black woman, 72 years old. I started off with just some basic questions about about how, their proposal. And then I just started doing some basic, this is sort of journalism 101 backgrounding, where you start looking up this relatively new nonprofit and the person who has started the nonprofit. And so when I ran some public record searches on Linda Woodley, the executive director of the program, right off the bat, there were some things that we would sort of characterize in our newsroom as red flags about this individual. And while I was looking through the recorder's office in Pierce County, Washington, which is where one of these liens were taken out against Linda Woodley, I came across in the county recorder's office a notice that had been filed against her by the U.S. Department of Justice. And I thought that was a little weird. Why is the U.S. Department of Justice filing a notice in Pierce County about Linda Woodley? And what they're saying is that she owes them over $650,000 as an unpaid penalty against them. So once I saw that from the U.S. Department of Justice, I started looking through court record searches, and that's when I found that Linda Woodley had been previously convicted of defrauding a pair of energy companies that she ran in California in the 1990s.
Kavanaugh took his findings to the city. He told me they were horrified and had no idea about Woodley's background. Eventually, they took the contract away from her nonprofit and gave it to a competitor, saying the main reason was serious questions about the work history that she provided, not the conviction from the 90s. And as I mentioned earlier, she in turn sued the city of Portland. Kavanaugh said the program still hopes to get those heat pump air conditioners out to vulnerable Portlanders before the summer heat arrives this year. And by the way, he continues to follow this story for the Oregonian. If you'd like to read his fantastic work, go to OregonLive.com or our Twitter account, The Story KGW. We have posted some of Shane's stories there.